You're looking at one right now, a USC quarterback who did not work out in the NFL. And my situation was much different than the other guys I'm about to reference on this list, as I didn't even make it to the NFL. But I wanted to be upfront with my biases here. We're addressing the narrative, the pattern, the belief that seems to have popped up over the past 15 to 20 years that USC and Ohio State quarterbacks don't work out in the NFL. Where does this idea even come from? Part of it is that USC and Ohio State are easy to hate, just like the Celtics and the Lakers or the Yankees and the Red Sox. Like, I can admit that. Part of it may be the theory that Ryan Day and some of the old systems at USC were so much more talented than the teams they were facing that when you make the jump to the NFL, it's just a whole adjustment. And part of it is confirmation bias. Once you hear that, hey, quarterbacks from this school don't work out, then you continue to keep looking for it. Wherever it came from, the take is wrong for these three reasons. Our definition of bust or not working out is wrong. We don't consider either school's volume of quarterbacks. And even if you're someone who ignores those first two factors, there's two quarterbacks in this current generation that are going to put this illogical narrative finally to bed. Most fans' definition of bust or not working out is just wrong. It loses perspective. The average NFL career for a quarterback is just 4.4 years. And the bust rate for first-round quarterbacks since 2011 is basically break even. Of the 1,909 starts, the record for these quarterbacks is 1,034 and 1,035. And then we get into this whole volume conversation. Like, you have to be elite enough to have enough guys even in this conversation for this narrative to pop up, which is ridiculous. Like, when you look at USC, they have 17 quarterbacks drafted total. That's the most of any school. So like, that in itself is successful. The fact that then we go the next way of like, oh, USC quarterbacks don't work out in the NFL. Like, they're getting more at bats than any other school. They have 4 first rounders: Sam Darnold, Mark Sanchez, Matt Leinart, Carson Palmer. I'll flip the script on the other direction. I think there's a lot of positives with those guys. Carson Palmer retired as the highest earning quarterback ever. First quarterback to throw for over 4,000 yards with 3 different teams. He brought the Cardinals to the NFC Championship in 2015 and made 3 Pro Bowls. I know he was the first overall pick, but when you frame it that way, pretty good career. When you look at Mark Sanchez, we all just focus on the butt fumble. He led the Jets to the AFC Championship. He had a 10-year NFL career. Same goes for Matt Barkley. I know at one point he was like the chosen one, first-class dude, by the way, but he has an 11-year NFL career. That is a long NFL career. 11 years is not a bust, even if you're a backup. Another dude, Cody Kessler, the guy that I backed up for most of my college career. He started 11 games as a rookie. As not a day one NFL draft pick, to get that many starts as a rookie quarterback for the Cleveland Browns, not insignificant. But some of the negative factors that people focus on with USC are: 1, Sam Darnold. You can book this. If Sam Darnold doesn't go to the Jets straight out of the draft and he goes to the Niners instead, I think Sam Darnold could be a perennial Pro Bowl quarterback. I know that's like a hot take, but Sam has the talent. There's a reason the Panthers traded for him to get him out of there. There's a reason he was able to beat out Trey Lance in a situation where an organization, they invested a lot in Trey Lance. They invested a lot in his success, but Darnold had enough success to beat him out. There's been a lot of first-round quarterbacks that don't get these continued opportunities that Sam Darnold has, and maybe by the time you're watching this video, he's got a Super Bowl ring as well. Also, Carson Palmer. We focus on the knee and how things ended in Cincinnati and he wasn't able to get over the hump. Well, injuries happen. Cody Kessler, he's in the Browns. Have him be in that conversation. Obviously, he wasn't a first-round quarterback or a first overall quarterback or a top 5 quarterback, but Cody Kessler, there should be no knock against Cody Kessler. I think his NFL career was great, all things considered. You look at Matt Leinart. Matt Leinart was all everything in the college game, but a lot of offensive coordinators in college, and I guess he's got to wear that. Tom Marinovich, that story is well documented. And then Mark Sanchez, again, here we go with the butt fumble. That is the clip you focus on with Mark Sanchez, but you forget he hung around the NFL for a long time and made a lot of money as a quarterback in the National Football League. On the Ohio State side of things, 14 quarterbacks drafted from the Ohio State, 4 first-rounders as well. Arch Leister, Dwayne Haskins, Justin Fields, CJ Stroud. A lot of dudes that are recent. Ohio State positive examples. They own Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow, even though he was beat out by Dwayne Haskins, they can loosely claim my long-lost brother, right? Maybe not. I don't know, but I got to include him in this list. You got CJ Stroud, who we'll circle back on CJ Stroud. Talk of the town right now in football. Just had one of the top 3 rookie seasons of all time. Justin Fields. Just listen to a video right now. Justin Fields has trade value. Justin Fields is a starter in the National Football League. And Justin Fields is a quarterback that's got his own fan base chanting his name. There's belief in who Justin Fields is right now. And And then Mike Tomczak, gonna be honest, had to fact check here, started 73 games in the NFL and threw for over 16,000 yards in his career. But on the negative side, where this narrative takes life for Ohio State, you got Troy Smith, big time college career, heard nothing from him in the NFL. JT Barrett, big time college career, nothing in the NFL. He's the homie though. Terrell Pryor, huge recruit, successful college career, wasn't able to transition into the NFL. Well, what could have been with Terrell Pryor if he was in a different era of football? Ultimately, had to go to receiver, which I feel like only adds fuel to this fire and fuel to this narrative. But those are three dudes that were big time college quarterbacks that don't work out in the NFL. You also have Art Schlichter, who had the gambling issue that got publicity that's no fun, and so he gets added to this list. You got Cardell Jones. He just didn't play that much football in college to really have success in the NFL, but only started 11 games in college. Like, that's going to be tough to find a career in the NFL. And then the late Dwayne Haskins, RIP, started 13 games for Washington in 2 seasons, and it never really worked out in his time in Pittsburgh with Big Ben and Mason Rudolph, and obviously a horrible news with his passing. But that gives you context to just the amount of names that I think should work to the school's quarterback pedigree in a more positive way that from an NFL lens ultimately works against him. And for me, the biggest question is, not even the topic of this video, but why do great college quarterbacks ultimately not work out in the NFL? The first factor right away, dysfunctional franchise. Sam Darnold's the perfect example. Goes to the Jets, not a great scenario. Not the pieces in place around him to have success. And as a result of that, especially when you have expectations, you start feeling like you need to play like Superman. You start feeling like you need to be the dude all the time. You start feeling like you need to start playing like the number 3 draft pick every single play. When great quarterbacks look no further than what Brock Purdy's doing, what Tom Brady made a career on, you take what's in front of you. You go to a dysfunctional franchise, it's not a recipe for success. The current style of offense, that's another factor. I think especially with the Ohio State guys that were more dual threat guys, they could have had more success in a different era of football. For the USC guys, I also think it's interesting because some of those guys are on the wavelength of as the game went more dual threat and they were more pro style system to start. That's an interesting dynamic as well of, they were great in a certain scheme, but then the game was moving away from that scheme. And then the factor that we all lose track of that is never sexy to talk about, but football is the ultimate team sport. To have success, you have to have the right coach in place, the right teammates in place. You have to have a run game. You have to have an offensive line. You have to have a defense. Maybe you don't need all of them, but you need some of them. And if the pieces don't come in together and you start losing confidence, and again, you start having to feel like you need to play like Superman, that's where negative momentum can stack up against you. And before you know it, the margins are this thin and you're not in the NFL. But the reason I'm making this video is because once and for all, I think we are approaching a time period where this narrative will finally be put to bed. One, because of CJ Stroud coming off a huge rookie year. Looks like he should have been the first pick in the NFL draft last year ahead of Bryce Young, but not even going down that route. He looks like he's about to have a successful decade-long career playing at an all-pro level. And on the other side, you got Caleb Williams about to enter the NFL. The best prospect we've seen since Andrew Luck. The most talented dude. I think the Bears would be foolish to not take him number 1. I think he's going to find success. I think he's so talented that he can rise up a dysfunctional franchise. And if we're sitting here 5 years from now, I don't think this is a hot take. There's a very real scenario. If we fast forward 5 years and Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson are phasing out, that next wave, that next duo, that next matchup could be CJ Stroud versus Caleb Williams. It could be Ohio State versus USC, and this narrative will be finally put to bed that Buckeye quarterbacks and USC quarterbacks, they don't work out in the NFL. Because it's a stupid narrative anyways, and CJ and Caleb put on for all of us.